Introduction. Mia sat in her BMW in the underground parking garage, gripping the steering wheel as tears streamed down her carefully made-up face. Just 20 minutes earlier, she had walked out of the boardroom to thunderous applause. Her quarterly presentation had been flawless. Every metric exceeded, every stakeholder satisfied, every question answered with the precision that had earned her the corner office and the respect of her peers. Yet here she was, successful marketing executive with a six-figure salary and a team that looked up to her, feeling completely hollow inside. This wasn't the first time. After every win, every promotion, every moment of recognition, Mia found herself in this same parking spot, wondering why the validation she craved so desperately felt so empty once she received it. She had done everything right, worked the longest hours, said yes to every request, anticipated everyone's needs before they even voiced them. She had built her entire identity around being indispensable, irreplaceable, perfect. But perfection, she was learning, was a prison of her own making. Mia's story isn't unique. Across corporate America, in entrepreneurial ventures, and in professional circles worldwide, countless high achievers are discovering a painful truth. External success doesn't automatically translate to internal fulfillment. In fact, for many, the very strategies that propelled them to professional heights have left them emotionally depleted, relationally disconnected, and spiritually bankrupt. The cruel irony is that the harder they work to prove their worth, the more worthless they feel inside. Purpose of the book: breaking free without breaking down. This book exists for one fundamental reason: to guide high-achieving individuals through a complete transformation from approval-dependent success to authentic fulfillment, without sacrificing the ambition and professional excellence that defines them. Too many books on codependency and personal development treat professional success as the enemy of authentic living. They suggest that to find true happiness, you must abandon your drive, lower your standards, or accept mediocrity. This book takes a radically different approach. Your ambition isn't the problem. Your drive isn't the enemy. Your desire for excellence isn't what's making you miserable. The problem lies in the why behind your achievements and the cost you're paying for them. When your self-worth becomes dependent on external validation, when your boundaries become so porous that you lose yourself in others' needs, when your relationships become transactional rather than authentic, that's when success becomes a sophisticated form of self-abandonment. This book will show you how to maintain your high standards while freeing yourself from the exhausting cycle of seeking validation. Develop authentic relationships and communication skills that don't require sacrificing your personal boundaries. Build internal fulfillment and self-worth that isn't dependent on external achievements or approval. Transform your professional relationships from codependent to collaborative. Create sustainable success that energizes rather than depletes you. The goal isn't to diminish your achievements or lower your aspirations. It's to ensure that your success serves you rather than enslaving you. This book is for the high-functioning codependent. If you've picked up this book, chances are you recognize yourself in Mia's story. You're likely someone who excels externally but struggles internally, someone who has mastered the art of professional success while privately battling feelings of emptiness, anxiety, or the persistent fear that you're somehow fraudulent, that if people really knew you, they'd discover you're not as capable as you appear. You might be someone who lives for validation but finds it never satisfies. You've structured your entire life around earning approval, recognition, and praise, becoming the person others can always count on, the one who anticipates needs and exceeds expectations. But no amount of external validation seems to fill the internal void. Each achievement provides only temporary relief before the hunger for more approval returns, stronger than before. Perhaps you struggle with boundaries in professional settings, finding it nearly impossible to say no to requests, even when your plate is already overflowing. You take on responsibilities that aren't yours, work longer hours than necessary, and often find yourself resentful of the very people you're trying to help. You've confused being helpful with being valuable, and being needed with being loved. You might experience relationship challenges despite your professional success, finding that your personal relationships feel shallow or transactional. You might attract people who take advantage of your giving nature, or you might discover that you don't know how to connect with others without doing something for them. Romantic relationships may be particularly challenging, as partners complain that you're never truly present or authentic. Most significantly, you likely fear that changing will mean losing everything. The thought of setting boundaries, saying no, or prioritizing your own needs terrifies you because you believe your success depends entirely on your willingness to sacrifice yourself for others. You worry that if you stop being the go-to person, you'll become irrelevant or replaceable. This book is specifically designed for high achievers who want to break free from these patterns without dismantling the professional lives they've worked so hard to build. You don't need to become less ambitious to become more authentic. You don't need to lower your standards to raise your self-worth. Why this book is different, beyond traditional recovery. Most books on codependency were written with traditional relationship dynamics in mind, typically focusing on romantic partnerships, family systems, or addiction recovery. While these foundations remain important, they often fall short when applied to the unique challenges faced by high-functioning professionals. This book bridges cutting-edge psychology with practical business applications. Rather than asking you to choose between personal growth and professional success, it shows you how each enhances the other. You'll learn to apply psychological principles in boardrooms, networking events, and performance reviews. You'll discover how authentic leadership actually increases your influence and how healthy boundaries can accelerate your career. It addresses the sophisticated nature of high-functioning codependency. Your codependent patterns aren't obvious. You're not in crisis, you're not failing at life, and you're not displaying the dramatic symptoms typically associated with codependency. Instead, your patterns are subtle, socially rewarded, and professionally advantageous, which makes them both harder to recognize and more difficult to change. This book specifically addresses these nuanced manifestations. It provides a roadmap for transformation that enhances rather than diminishes professional success. Every strategy, tool, and technique in this book has been tested in real-world professional environments. You'll learn how to set boundaries that increase respect rather than resentment, how to communicate authentically in ways that build rather than burn bridges, and how to develop self-worth that makes you more confident and effective in your career. It recognizes that high achievers need high-level solutions. You're used to excellence, sophisticated thinking, and comprehensive approaches. This book doesn't offer simplistic platitudes or one-size-fits-all solutions. Instead, it provides nuanced strategies that can be adapted to your specific industry, role, and circumstances. What to expect: your transformation journey. This book will take you on a carefully structured journey from recognition to transformation to integration. Each chapter builds upon the previous one, creating a comprehensive roadmap for change that respects both your professional commitments and your personal growth needs. Chapter 1: The Golden Handcuffs of People-Pleasing begins your journey by helping you recognize the subtle ways that people-pleasing has become your professional strategy. You'll discover how the very behaviors that earn you praise and promotion are simultaneously trapping you in cycles of exhaustion and resentment. Chapter 2: The Architecture of Your Invisible Prison dives deeper into understanding the psychological structures that keep you locked in approval-seeking patterns. You'll explore the beliefs, fears, and unconscious motivations that drive your behavior, gaining the insight needed to begin meaningful change. Chapter 3: Rewiring the Approval-Seeking Brain focuses on the internal transformation work necessary for lasting change. You'll learn evidence-based techniques for building genuine self-worth and developing emotional regulation skills that serve you in high-pressure professional environments. Chapter 4: The Boundary Revolution introduces you to the art of professional boundary setting. You'll discover how to establish and maintain boundaries that protect your time, energy, and well-being, while actually increasing your professional effectiveness and earning greater respect from colleagues. Chapter 5: Speaking your truth without burning bridges teaches you advanced communication skills that allow you to be authentic and direct without damaging important professional relationships. You'll master the delicate balance between honesty and diplomacy. Chapter 6: Curating your circle of influence helps you evaluate and intentionally shape your professional relationships. You'll learn to identify which relationships energize versus drain you, and how to minimize the impact of toxic dynamics while strengthening connections with supportive colleagues. Chapter 7: The Professional Integration Challenge focuses on applying your new skills in real-world situations. You'll learn how to navigate office politics with integrity, manage up effectively, and lead teams from a place of authentic authority rather than people-pleasing desperation. Chapter 8: Sustaining Change in a Validation-Obsessed World addresses the ongoing challenge of maintaining your transformation in environments that reward codependent behaviors. You'll develop strategies for staying true to your authentic self while succeeding in competitive professional cultures. Chapter 9: The Resilience Advantage builds your capacity to handle setbacks, criticism, and professional challenges without reverting to old patterns. You'll discover how authenticity actually makes you more resilient and professionally anti-fragile. Chapter 10: Designing your authentic success blueprint helps you create a personalized vision of success that aligns with your authentic values and deepest aspirations. You'll learn to set goals and make career decisions based on internal fulfillment rather than external approval. Throughout this journey, you'll encounter real-world case studies, practical exercises, and implementation strategies that you can apply immediately. This isn't just about understanding codependency, it's about transcending it in ways that make you more effective, more fulfilled, and more genuinely successful. The Courage to Begin. Reading this book requires something that might feel foreign to you, putting your own growth and well-being first, even if only for the time it takes to work through these pages. For someone who has spent years prioritizing everyone else's needs, this simple act of self-investment might feel selfish or uncomfortable. That discomfort is actually your first indication that you're on the right path. This book will challenge some of your most fundamental beliefs about success, relationships, and self-worth. It will ask you to question patterns that have brought you external rewards. It will require you to sit with uncomfortable truths about the cost of your current approach to life and work. But here's what I promise you: your greatest professional success, the kind that fulfills rather than depletes you, lies on the other side of personal authenticity. The corner office, the recognition, the financial rewards you've achieved are just the beginning. Imagine what becomes possible when you bring your full, authentic self to your professional life. Imagine the quality of relationships you could build, the impact you could have, and the satisfaction you could experience when your success flows from genuine self-worth rather than desperate people-pleasing. Imagine never again sitting in your car after a professional triumph, wondering why you feel so empty inside. The transformation you're about to undertake won't diminish your ambition, it will refine it. It won't lower your standards, it will elevate them. It won't make you less successful, it will make your success sustainable, satisfying, and genuinely your own. Are you ready to discover what lies beyond the corner office paradox? Are you prepared to build a version of success that serves your authentic self rather than enslaving it? Your journey toward freedom begins with turning the page. 1. The golden handcuffs of people-pleasing. When winning becomes losing yourself. Jade sat in her corner office, staring at another employee recognition award on her desk. Despite being the youngest VP in her company's history, she felt hollow inside. Her success had become a prison. The more she achieved, the more she felt compelled to maintain her image as the reliable, accommodating leader who never said no. Her professional victories masked a deeper truth. She had built her entire identity around being indispensable to others, leaving her exhausted and disconnected from her authentic self. This scenario represents one of the most misunderstood forms of codependency in our culture today. High-functioning codependency is the hidden epidemic among successful professionals who have learned to excel by anticipating and meeting others' needs at the expense of their own. Unlike traditional codependency, this pattern often leads to external success, making it nearly impossible to recognize the problem. The traditional image of codependency involves obvious dysfunction, enabling destructive behaviors in partners, family members, or friends while sacrificing personal well-being. High-functioning codependency operates differently. It wears the mask of competence, reliability, and success. People with this pattern often receive praise for their work ethic, their ability to handle multiple responsibilities, and their willingness to go above and beyond expectations. But beneath the surface lies a different reality. The competence trap creates a vicious cycle where success reinforces people-pleasing behaviors. Each promotion, recognition, or positive feedback validates the exhausting pattern of putting others' needs first. The external rewards make it seem like the system is working perfectly, even as internal stress and resentment build to dangerous levels. The invisible struggle means others see confidence and capability, while internally you experience anxiety, overwhelm, and a constant fear of disappointing others. Colleagues and family members rely on your consistent performance and agreeable nature. They have no idea that you lie awake at night worrying about whether you've done enough or if you've somehow let someone down. The achievement addiction turns each professional milestone into another weight in the golden handcuffs. The higher you climb, the more people expect from you. The more responsibilities you take on, the more indispensable you become. Breaking free from validation-seeking patterns feels impossible when your entire professional identity depends on maintaining these exhausting standards. Aiden was a top-performing sales director who consistently exceeded his quotas by saying yes to every client request, working weekends, and never pushing back on unrealistic deadlines. His colleagues admired his dedication, but he privately struggled with panic attacks and insomnia. His success had become his trap. He feared that setting boundaries would expose him as inadequate, so he continued the exhausting cycle of over-delivering to maintain his reputation as the go-to guy. The roots of high-functioning codependency often trace back to childhood experiences that taught us to earn love and acceptance through performance and accommodation. Perhaps you grew up in a household where conflict was avoided at all costs, where your worth was tied to your achievements, or where emotional needs were consistently overlooked in favor of maintaining harmony. These early experiences create neural pathways that equate personal value with external validation. Key warning signs of high-functioning codependency include chronic overfunctioning, taking on responsibilities that belong to others. Difficulty saying no, agreeing to requests even when overwhelmed. Perfectionist tendencies, setting impossibly high standards to avoid criticism. Anxiety about disappointing others, constant worry about letting people down. Resentment and exhaustion, feeling bitter about always giving while receiving little in return. Identity confusion, losing touch with personal wants, needs, and preferences. Relationship imbalances, consistently giving more than receiving in personal and professional relationships. The most challenging aspect of recognizing high-functioning codependency is that it looks so much like success from the outside. Your boss loves your reliability. Your colleagues appreciate your willingness to help. Your family counts on your support. The positive feedback creates a powerful reinforcement loop that makes change feel not just difficult, but potentially destructive to everything you've built. Jade discovered this pattern in her own life when she realized she couldn't remember the last time she had expressed a genuine preference or disagreement at work. She had become so skilled at reading others' expectations and meeting them that her own voice had virtually disappeared. Her team saw her as an excellent leader, but she felt like a fraud, successful on the outside while slowly dying on the inside. The financial and professional stakes make breaking these patterns feel particularly risky. When your income, career trajectory, and professional reputation depend on maintaining your image as the person who always delivers, the thought of setting boundaries or saying no can trigger intense anxiety. What if people discover you're not actually superhuman? What if your value drops when you stop overfunctioning? These fears are understandable, but often exaggerated. The skills that make high-functioning codependents successful, empathy, attention to detail, strong work ethic, ability to manage multiple priorities, don't disappear when healthy boundaries are established. In fact, these qualities often become more valuable when combined with authentic self-advocacy and sustainable work practices. The path forward requires recognizing that your current success model, while externally rewarding, is internally unsustainable. The constant stress of anticipating and meeting others' needs while neglecting your own creates physical, emotional, and spiritual exhaustion that eventually impacts performance anyway. Burnout, health problems, relationship issues, and decreased creativity are common long-term consequences of high-functioning codependency. Change becomes possible when we understand that authentic success doesn't require self-sacrifice. The most effective leaders, partners, and contributors operate from a place of wholeness rather than depletion. They set boundaries not because they care less about others, but because they understand that sustainable excellence requires personal sustainability. As we move forward in this journey, we'll explore how these golden handcuffs were forged and maintained through years of reinforcement. Understanding the architecture of your invisible prison, the topic of our next chapter, will provide the foundation for developing new patterns that honor both your ambition and your authentic self. The goal isn't to become less successful or less caring. It's to become more genuinely yourself while maintaining the excellence that matters to you. When workplaces become emotional drug dealers. The modern workplace has become a sophisticated system that rewards and reinforces codependent behaviors. Open office plans, constant connectivity, and performance metrics based on collaboration and cultural fit create an environment where people-pleasers thrive professionally while dying internally. What appears to be a progressive, team-oriented work culture often functions as an elaborate trap for those already wired to prioritize others' needs above their own. Organizations unknowingly create approval addiction economies where validation becomes the primary currency, and those most skilled at reading and meeting others' needs rise to leadership positions, often at great personal cost. These systems operate with the subtlety of a well-designed casino, providing just enough intermittent rewards to keep high-functioning codependents hooked on the cycle of overgiving and external validation. The always-on culture has eliminated traditional boundaries between personal and professional life, feeding the codependent need to be constantly available and responsive. Technology and remote work, while offering flexibility, have created an expectation that employees should be reachable at all hours. Email notifications ping during dinner. Slack messages arrive on weekends. Video calls interrupt personal time with little consideration for work-life balance. For high-functioning codependents, this constant connectivity feels both overwhelming and necessary. The fear of disappointing colleagues or missing important communications drives compulsive checking behaviors that rob them of rest and personal time. The workplace essentially becomes a 24-hour validation machine, dispensing approval for responsiveness while gradually eroding the boundaries needed for psychological health. Mia found herself checking Slack messages at 11 p.m. and responding to urgent emails during family dinners. Her manager praised her responsiveness and team-first attitude, but her marriage was suffering and her health was declining. The workplace culture that rewarded her people-pleasing tendencies was systematically destroying her personal life, yet she felt powerless to change without risking her professional standing. Collaboration overload represents another way modern workplaces exploit codependent tendencies. The emphasis on teamwork, consensus building, and inclusive decision-making sounds positive in theory, but often rewards those who sacrifice their own needs and opinions for group harmony. Endless meetings, collaborative platforms, and cross-functional projects create environments where individual needs and preferences are consistently subordinated to group dynamics. High-functioning codependents excel in these settings because they naturally read room dynamics and adjust their contributions to maintain harmony. They become expert at sensing when their ideas might create conflict and self-censor accordingly. They volunteer for extra responsibilities when projects fall behind. They mediate disputes between colleagues and absorb the emotional labor of keeping teams functioning smoothly. The irony is that these behaviors, while valued by organizations, prevent authentic innovation and diverse thinking. When people consistently suppress their genuine perspectives to maintain harmony, companies lose access to the very creativity and diverse viewpoints they claim to value. The feedback loop creates perhaps the most insidious aspect of workplace approval addiction. Performance reviews, peer evaluations, and constant informal feedback create a system where external validation becomes the primary measure of worth and success. The traditional annual review has evolved into ongoing feedback systems, pulse surveys, and real-time performance tracking that provide constant opportunities for validation-seeking behaviors. 360-degree reviews, while designed to provide comprehensive feedback, often become popularity contests where high-functioning codependents excel by maintaining positive relationships at the expense of authentic leadership. They learn to manage up effectively, anticipate their supervisor's needs, and avoid difficult conversations that might result in negative feedback. The most dangerous aspect of these systems is how they mirror the childhood dynamics that created codependent patterns in the first place. Just as many high-functioning codependents learn to earn love and acceptance through performance and accommodation in their families, the workplace provides a similar structure where external approval becomes the primary source of self-worth. Graham discovered this pattern when he realized he was spending more time managing his reputation than actually doing his job. He crafted his communication style to please different stakeholders, volunteered for high-visibility projects he didn't enjoy, and avoided expressing dissenting opinions that might damage his performance reviews. His success was built on a foundation of people-pleasing that left him feeling like an imposter in his own career. Modern performance metrics often inadvertently reward codependent behaviors through emphasis on soft skills, like emotional intelligence, cultural fit, and team collaboration. While these qualities are genuinely valuable, the way they're typically measured and rewarded can encourage unhealthy patterns of self-sacrifice and boundary crossing. The concept of cultural fit can be particularly problematic for high-functioning codependents who have learned to chameleon-like adapt to whatever environment they find themselves in. They become so skilled at reading and matching organizational expectations that they lose touch with their authentic professional identity and values. Key workplace dynamics that feed codependent patterns include open communication policies, encouraging feedback and suggestions while subtly punishing those who offer genuine criticism. Flexible work arrangements, creating expectations of constant availability under the guise of work-life balance. Team-building activities, mandatory social interactions that blur professional and personal boundaries. Servant leadership models, promoting leadership styles that prioritize others' needs without adequate emphasis on self-care and sustainability. Innovation cultures, encouraging risk-taking while punishing actual failure, creating pressure to anticipate and prevent problems. The challenge for high-functioning codependents is that these workplace dynamics often align perfectly with their existing patterns. The external rewards feel validating and meaningful, making it difficult to recognize the internal cost of constantly prioritizing others' needs above their own. Recognition of these patterns is the first step toward change. Understanding how workplace cultures can function as elaborate systems for approval addiction helps explain why breaking free from people-pleasing patterns feels so risky when your professional success depends on maintaining them. The goal isn't to become less collaborative or responsive in professional settings. Instead, it's about developing the awareness and skills to engage authentically while maintaining the boundaries necessary for sustainable success. As we'll explore in the next chapter, understanding the deeper architecture of your invisible prison will provide the foundation for creating genuine change without sacrificing your professional effectiveness. The price of everyone else's approval. The pursuit of external validation through perfectionism and people-pleasing exacts a hidden tax on every area of life. While